Welcome back from lunch into the second half of day one of our Education Summit. Our aim is to support our educators and to bring resources on Asia to our K-12 classrooms across the country. We have 41 speakers joining us at this summit to help with that goal, over 12 hours of live programming. A link to our program with our full agenda and speaker bios is on our website, and it's also in the chat box. Thank you to our team of 6 and to all of our interns for your hard work making this summit happen. And now we will hear from our very own Asia Society Center for Global Education. This session will be for 45 minutes and is titled Education for a Global Future. Please welcome Executive Director Neelam Chowdhury and Director Heather Singmaster. Neelam, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Okay, great. So again, thank you, Margaret, and thank you to all the staff and our colleagues in the Northern California office. We're just so excited to be here today. As Margaret mentioned, my name is Neelam Chowdhury. I'm the Executive Director for Global Learning Programs for the Center for Global Education at Asia Society. My colleague Heather Singmaster and I are so pleased to join you today to discuss one of the most important issues in education today, which is how do we ensure that all young people receive a quality education that prepares them to succeed and thrive in a rapidly changing world. And we know as educators, you're thinking about this all the time, parents are thinking about this all the time, and the world is thinking about this. So we're excited to talk to you about some of our thoughts on this and share some really amazing resources with you. So before we get started, I wanted to share a quick video with you.
There are 4 key elements of global competence. Global competence starts by being aware, curious, and interested in learning about the world and how it works. Students are able to ask globally significant questions, analyze evidence from multiple sources, and develop an argument that draws defensible conclusions. Students recognize that they have a perspective and someone else may or may not share it. They weigh all sides and from that incorporate different perspectives into their point of view. Globally competent students effectively communicate their ideas with diverse audiences, including through the use of appropriate technology. While English is the primary language of business, speaking another language is important for collaborating across borders. By applying what they have learned, students can translate their ideas into appropriate actions to discover solutions for both local and global challenges. We now face a critical imperative to prepare all students for work and civic roles in an environment where success increasingly requires the ability to compete, connect, and cooperate on an international scale.
Great, and so what you just learned here is a little bit more about global competence and the 4 domains of global competence, which we will review a little later in this presentation. So first I wanted to start off with our definition of global competence, which you see here is the capacity and disposition to understand and act on issues of global significance. Students need to be globally competent to prosper within a global economy, thrive amid diversity, and contribute to the solutions of the world's problems. And so the reason why we think about global competence in everything that we do is because we do want students to be participating in solving this problems that they see today and will probably encounter in the future. There are 5 reasons why global competence matters. Global competence is the toolkit a productive, involved citizenry uses to meet the problems and opportunities of the world. And what we mean by that is in the curriculum, global competence challenges students to investigate the world, consider a variety of perspectives, communicate ideas, and take meaningful action. A globally focused curriculum engages students in their own learning and motivates them to strive for knowledge and understanding. And a curious, inspired student strives to learn more in school and beyond. A new generation of students requires different skills from the generations that came before them. So the world is changing fast, as we all know. Boundaries, literally and figuratively, are shifting and even disappearing altogether. The culture that once lived halfway around the world now lives just down the block. The ability to thrive in this new and rapidly changing environment is grounded in a globally focused curriculum. And more than ever before, individual actions reach around the globe. environmental concerns, economic shifts, global poverty, population growth, human rights, and political conflict can seem difficult and overwhelming, yet they absolutely require thoughtful action. In a globally focused curriculum, students learn that the world needs them to act, and they can make a difference. The fourth is that global competence integrates knowledge of the world and the skill of application and the disposition to think and behave productively. Global competence is not restricted to knowing about other cultures and other perspectives. In addition to knowledge of the world, a globally competent citizen exhibits habits like critical thinking, rational optimism, innovation, empathy, and awareness of the influences of the culture of other cultures on individual and world events. And finally, success in career and life will depend on global competence because career and life will play out on the global stage. Already, government, business, and cultural institutions are called to solve the world's problems cooperatively, as we have seen this past year and a half to two. Engaging in these challenges requires high-order knowledge and thinking skills, as well as shared language and cultural understanding. In a globally focused curriculum, students prepare to approach problems from multiple perspectives and thrive in a global future. At the Education World Forum in 2018, Asia Society and OECD launched a new publication called Teaching for Global Competence in a Rapidly Changing World. In its development of the PISA Global Competence Framework, OECD conducted a comprehensive review of research and literature related to global competence, including our definition of global competence in primary and secondary education. This was developed in collaboration with Harvard Graduate School of Education. The new publication is available on our website, and we will show you a little later about where you can find that. It's a resource that provides a great rationale for global competence, case studies and examples of what it looks like, and resources on how you can learn to do more. So in this publication, both OECD and the Center for Global Education came together to identify 4 key aspects of global competence. They're shown here on this slide. So globally competent youth, as you saw in the video earlier, investigate the world beyond their immediate environment by examining issues of local, global, and cultural significance. They recognize, understand, and appreciate the perspectives and the worldviews of others. They communicate ideas with diverse audiences by engaging in open, appropriate, and effective interaction across cultures, and they take action for collective well-being and sustainable development, both locally and globally. Teaching for global competence will not be successful if it is co-signed to extracurricular status or something that is done occasionally. It has to be a part of the core curriculum. And this can be achieved through a new approach to active learning that integrates academic concepts and global issues. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Heather Singmaster. What I hope I've just done is kind of given you a foundation of what we mean by global competence and a little bit of an understanding of the 4 domains of global competence. And I'm going to hand it over to Heather.
Thank you, Neelam. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited you're here. What we thought we would do, because we know it's after lunch, which is always the most difficult time to present because everybody is a little sleepy, we thought we would do an interactive activity. So we'd like you to go to nearpod.com. And when you get there, you're going to be a student today. So you'll go to the student box that you see circled on the screen, and you'll enter in this code DRZ8Q. And I put that in the chat box for you as well. So again, it's nearpod.com, and then go to the student box and enter in the code. And then it will ask you to put in a name. You can put in your real name, or you can put in a fake name, whatever you want. And let me just go over to Nearpod right now so we can all walk through this together. So again, you go to nearpod.com, and then you'll put in the code. So I'll give you a minute to join. The code is on the screen here. I see we have some people joining. And what we want to do is we want to think a little bit about why global competence is important for careers. A lot of the work that I do at Asia Society is around career and technical education or vocational education. So really helping students to think about how they'll need to use these skills when they get out in the world of work. And so what this activity will do is help us think about how, even though we're preparing students for jobs of the future that may not even exist yet, the skills that we're teaching them are critical and important. And we are able to prepare them. So let's go to, hold on one second. So I'll be advancing the screen as we go through. So keep joining. Again, it's nearpod.com, and up in the left-hand corner here, you can see the code that you enter in as a student. So you can do this on any device. It's just in your web browser. So what we're going to do is think about what is an innovation that will exist in the future that doesn't exist today. And so share any ideas you have, any kind of new invention you think will exist one day. I always like to use the example of flying cars, because where are our flying cars? They were promised to us, I feel like, ages ago, and we still don't have them. But what are some other types of innovations that you think might happen? So share any idea, share as many ideas as you have in the box here. We'll see what ideas come up. Virtual tourism. That's what we need right now during COVID, I think, is virtual tourism. Microchips in heads. I've done this exercise with quite a few groups. I actually borrowed this from Jennifer Williams. If you're on Twitter and follow a lot of the Global Ed chat, she's really active there. But microchips comes up quite a bit. So I feel like we're moving in that direction. Living in Mars. Yes, if Elon Musk gets his way, we'll all be living on Mars sooner than later, right? Transporters in Star Trek. Yes, that's great. I'd like to get from one place to another quickly. Space tourism. I assume you mean that's going to be a wider scale. And keep joining Nearpod if you haven't joined yet. And so you can add your ideas here. Efficient use of natural power. Yes, we need that more than ever, right? All right, so now what I want you to do is, looking at these ideas, we have some good ones here. Which one do you like the most? So there's a little heart button in the corner, so you can click whichever one you like the most, and we'll see which one kind of bubbles to the top, or which one you think might actually happen. Whichever one you really like, just click on that little heart in the corner. Okay, so let's see. I love that the Live in Mars has a little picture to demonstrate it. All right, truly recyclable plastic. Yes, we do need that. It seems like everybody is agreeing that we need that too. It seems to be the most popular one. All right. Okay, getting your final likes in. Okay, so we're going to work with truly recyclable plastic. All right, it doesn't exist yet. We're hoping it will be. What kind of careers will be needed to make this a reality? What types of jobs will be working to make truly recyclable, that's not easy to say, recyclable plastic a reality? So any and all ideas, feel free to share them again. Pop them into the box. Definitely engineers and R&D for sure. Researchers, chemists, designers, passionate entrepreneurs. Yes, I like that. We need somebody to fund this. Infrastructure, physical chemists, environmental scientists. Some other ideas. Of engineers, environmentally committed political leaders, yes, to make that space, the support to make it happen. Lobbyists, yes, to get the political leaders on board. Marketing agents to get people to use it and adopt it, I think. Everyone can do at home. Teachers, yes, we always need teachers. Teachers always come up no matter what we choose, which is great. We do need teachers. Plant workers, for sure, we need people to produce it. Project managers, always important. Entrepreneurs, language teachers. All right. So again, you have a click the heart into whichever career you either like the most or you think is the most important. Whatever you feel like clicking the heart by. Let's see again which one kind of bubbles up to the top. Environmentally committed political leaders, teachers, language teachers, got entrepreneurs, it's pretty popular. All right, it looks like environmentally committed political leaders. I've never had that as the chosen profession. We always get a wide variety, but this is a new one. So creative group. All right, so let's go with environmentally committed political leader. So right now in your class this year, you have a student who one day is going to be an environmentally committed political leader who is advocating for this truly recyclable plastic. This is kind of something that we know nothing about right now. We're not really working on. But what kind of technical and academic skills or knowledge would she need? And let's focus on the technical and the academic. We'll save the 21st century skills. But let's really think about what does she need to understand this to really do her job well? So environmental justice knowledge. Yep, know about chemistry for sure. Writing. Connecting, right? The teamwork skills. Biology and evolution, international relations, right? Hopefully this will be adopted by the world because we can't just do this alone, right? That won't make a huge difference if the US is the only one using them. Learning global languages to communicate, right? Important, these communication pieces. Understanding the dangers of our current plastics, understanding the legal system, right? We don't want a lot of laws put up to bar the use of these. Recognize and understanding perspectives, yes, for sure. Probably some math might be important. History, yes, I love history. I think that's really important to understand why these haven't been adopted before, or other types of environmentally sustainable things. How can we learn from that? Presentation skills, systems thinking. Okay, good. We have a good variety here of jobs. Oh, benefits to our society from newly developed plastic, empathy and understanding. All right, so let's move on to the next one, which is what are the global competencies and skills that will be needed as a politician who's trying to get people to adopt or to have this actually happen, to be created, to support truly recyclable plastics. Political science is important, of course, as a political leader. Yes, that communication piece. To be able to, we talked to, in the previous one, there was the international relations, but then to really be able to use that to talk across nations and cultures, and understanding what the barriers are to adopting it, being really collaborative, entrepreneurial, humility to listen, learn, and comprehend. Yes, I love that. That's a great one. So important. Understanding the economy, right? If there's huge impacts to the economy, people aren't going to use it, right? If there are negative impacts. Yes, being able to communicate with multiple potential investors. That investigate the world piece comes up quite a bit, right? When you're thinking about how this will be used. That critical thinking, creativity. And then of course they're taking action, right? As a political leader, that's what you should be doing, is taking action to improve the world. So that that taking action piece comes up too. So what we hope to show you with this is kind of how, even though we don't know what jobs are in the future, what types of things our students will be working on or companies they'll be working for because they don't exist yet, the skills that we teach them now are really critical. And we are preparing them, and these global skills are really, really, really critical. We've done a lot of looking at surveys of CEOs and HR professionals, and these are skills that they say they want. They believe they're actually losing business because they don't have people with these international skills. So they can help our students both get jobs, but then move up the career ladder. And so Nearpod is free to do activities like this. I really like it because, you know, as the teacher, you can control what gets posted. You control the board. You can have this all be anonymous, where you can hide the students' names so that all the students feel really open to participating and sharing their ideas and not shy about it. So this is a good tool to use, especially if we end up, hopefully we won't, working virtually again with our students this fall. But we wanted to share this tool with you as well. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Neelam.
Great, thanks, Heather. And I love Nearpod because it also just provided a really good example of how we think about global education. So it's almost as if we're thinking backwards or mapping backwards. So you kind of have a goal in mind of what you want to do, maybe as an educator. You know, you want your students, let's say, to do X type of project, but you know, you're thinking about all the skills that you're going to need or help them through to get there. And I think this is a really great example of how we teach for global competence. And so thanks for that. And I really hope some of you will be able to use it. And I'm sure you're already thinking about ways in which you can use this. So I'm going to go back to our slides. And what we want to do next is share some of the resources that we have. And we have quite a few. And so now that you've had a chance to kind of understand what global competence is a little more, and work through this activity to kind of get warmed up and thinking about, you know, the skills that students are going to need, we wanted to share some resources that we think you can use really easily in your classroom. And so the first is what we call the Global Leadership Performance Outcomes, ICANN Statements and Rubrics. I'll share what these look like on our website, but basically they're kind of benchmarks or ways in which you can assess how your students are doing around global competence. And we have them from kindergarten to 12th grade, and most recently, we've added these for post-secondary as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share where you can find these on our website as well. There we go. You can see that, Heather? Yeah, okay, great. So on our website, it's a section called Leadership as a Global Competence, and you'll get a little bit of rationale and information about global leadership and what it means. And here you can click on these PDF files here, and these are completely free. And I'll go ahead and let's just do 10th grade. And what you'll find here is a packet, and in it you will get, again, a rationale for global competence and global leadership, and then performance outcomes. So these outcomes are based around the 4 domains of global competence that we just spoke about earlier. And they really define what investigate the world looks like for a global leader, and or recognize perspectives, communicate ideas, and take action. So they are pretty much like standards. You can use them as standards of performance outcomes, and they give you a really good idea of what communicating ideas look like, you know, and with these 4 outcomes here. So we have them in the 4 domains. And then along with that, we've developed ICANN statements. And so some educators like to use this with their students. They feel that they're more, you know, student-friendly language. And, you know, they provide an opportunity to further kind of dig a little bit deeper into what these outcomes really mean. So we have these in the 4 domains as well, as you see. And then we have the rubrics. And these have been really just invaluable to our educators, because this is what really provides that benchmarking that some of them really need. So let's say you're designing a curriculum or a unit, and you've decided to use one outcome from each of the domains. You might want to know, well, what would differentiate one student from the other? How do I know if a student is just kind of getting it versus somebody that's advanced and like really getting this, really understanding what we're trying to do here? So these rubrics provide a wonderful resource and tool when planning your curriculum. So again, we have these in K to 12 and for post-secondary. So please be sure to check them out, and they are free to download and use. So that's one resource I wanted to share with you. The other is this new initiative, not so new anymore, maybe about a year or so, year and a half. It's called Education for Equity. And I think one of the things we really wanted to kind of share with our audience, or really provide for our audience, is a way to look at global competence through the lens of equity. So we've been doing global competence, I don't know, Heather, 15 plus more years at the center for a really long time. And one thing that we've always had in the back of our mind is this is a way to kind of teach students about equity. And so what we've done here is kind of put some of that into action. So if you go into our website here, and I think we could, maybe Rexel, or maybe I can do this afterwards, put the links in here if you're not catching the domains. But Education for Equity is a place where you can go and really think about how you use global competence to support equity in what it is that you're doing. So we have a panel, and a lot of this is kind of, we're taking a little bit of a hiatus during the summer, but we'll ramp up again in the fall. And one program that we have is Teaching Truth to Power. And this is a panel discussion that we have every month to 6 weeks, and really focusing and, bringing up issues around race. We had one on raising global citizens for families. We talk about race and social justice in world language classrooms, which is one of our most watched panels. And here you see like a variety of different things that we kind of focused on to kind of bring this idea of equity into schools and what educators and administrators can do about it. And I'll go through these quickly. I don't want to run out too much time. The next is something which we call the Own Voices Virtual Reading Room. And this is where we invite Asian and Asian American authors to read stories that they've written, because we believe that, we are Asia Society. We really want to promote that Asian voice. So this is something, again, that we did about every month, sometimes twice a month. If you follow us on social media, you'll be able to, you'll know when these readings happen. We did a few programs around raising global citizens, as I mentioned earlier, for families and caregivers. We have an Asia Society Kids book list. And this is also from preschool to 12th grade. And again, these books are designed to help educators and parents think about the Asian voice and think about how to introduce stories about Asia, about Asian cooking, religions, culture into their classrooms or into their homes. And then we did a program recently during Asian Pacific Heritage Month around Asian Americans, and we spotlighted a few and had monthly programming around that. And we also have put together a few curriculum units called Addressing Racism Through Global Competence. And these are aligned to the UN SDGs as well. But let's say if you wanted to put together a unit, something really easy to get started with, maybe having your students design an infographic and, tackling this idea of xenophobia. We've kind of put together a bunch of resources for you to do that fairly easily. And this can be done virtually or, in the classroom. We'll give a brief example of what an infographic is if you need that. And how to really try to make that project authentic by thinking about xenophobia and what it means. And we provide an example. If you click on this, it's a larger PDF. I won't do that now, but you can click on it and gives us an example of how to make this project authentic, include student choice, make it authentic, make sure that it has a global focus, and help you find ways in which students can exhibit their work to a real audience. And so that's, one example of something you can do. And then we also connect to some of the great resources Asia Society has just by being Asia Society. We have so many panels and readings and speakers that really speak to this issue. So we've kind of connected that there. So we have a few units as well. If you'd like to get started right away with just a little bit of scaffolding for you, I think it's something that would be kind of interesting to try to integrate into your classroom. So we have a few here listed. So those are some of the resources we wanted to share with you. If you have any questions, we'll take a look in the chat. Let's see, Heather, did you want to share anything else? Yeah, okay.
Sure. I'll share a few resources, although we do have a question in the chat box that you might want to address. Are there opportunities for students to participate in real world projects? And do we have any partnerships with nonprofit organizations or companies?
We do have partnerships, and I think, Heather, you probably know more than I do around partnerships. So yeah, there are ways that students can get involved. We've traditionally done this work directly within the schools, and we recently received a grant, and it just got finalized, and the press release went out today, actually. We are working with students in US schools to join students in Jordan to design mobile applications that will address a UN SDG. So it's a new program that we're starting. Unfortunately, again, that is school-based, but Heather, can you think of any partnerships right now that we have where students can get directly involved?
I can, I'll share some. Let me do this. I'll do it this way. So we have created, and let me just go back to my toolkit here. So at asiasociety.org/CTE toolkit, we have created and gathered a lot of different resources that I've been working on. They're designed for career and technical education or vocational educators. However, a lot of them can be used by any educator. And so you'll see that we have resources for students, resources for K-12, which we call secondary, and then post-secondary as well, new resources. And so within here, we have sample classroom projects. So these are aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so these are projects that help you think about creating your own project around each of these SDGs, and they're aligned to different career pathways, and they show how you could bring in local businesses or partnerships on your own, because oftentimes you want to work with local partners because it will make it much more real for students. But these are all here for you that you can use, and they're completely flexible and modifiable. So we created them for middle and high school students, but there are extensions to make it more difficult for post-secondary, or there are ways to make it easier for elementary students. So that's one way, and those are really focused kind of on partners and careers. So that's one way that you could do it. The other thing we have here are under technology tools for global education. We've created a set of resources for working with partners to find a classroom abroad if you wanted to do a virtual project online with a classroom in another country. So we have all of these different resources here. These different groups will help you find partners abroad. Some will even provide the projects and the curriculum for you, like Empatico is a really good one for elementary. They create the connection for you and provide the curriculum. So there's a whole list here of different groups that can help you to do that kind of partnership work, to do those types of projects, which students really, really love. And now that everybody is so used to being online and working in this virtual space, I think it's easier than ever to do that, right? So that's another place where you can go to look for partnerships that can help you to do those kinds of projects. Just a couple of other things I wanted to point out in this toolkit. We just really recently created this new tool called the GREAT tool, which stands for Global Readiness Examples and Topics. So if you click into this one, you'll see all of the 16 different career pathways. So all the different possible career pathways that students could have jobs in one day, barring, of course, future jobs that we don't know exist yet. But if you click into them, you'll see we have, these are called the Global Career Ready Practices. So these are the different career skills that students will need to be successful in their career. And so if you click in, you get examples of how that career is, that career ready practice is being used in agriculture, for example, in this one. So this one proposes that meat substitutes are a booming business. What is the responsibility of farmers, consumers, and government to support initiatives like this? So they propose different topics, things that you could use as classroom discussions, topics you could build projects around, ways for students to do some career exploration around these different pathways, and then look at how global is used and connected within them. So that's another new tool that we have created. And so that's within the toolkit under the students toolkit, the GREAT tool. The other thing I thought I might share are in our video library, we've interviewed people about the global nature of their careers. So this is great if for students to understand, again, how these global skills are actually important and how they connect to the real world, because sometimes, students want to know that this is something they'll actually be using one day. But it's also good if you have others in your building who maybe are not convinced about global and its importance. So we have all kinds of different ones, from a global supply chain manager. This is a chef who, if you watch Top Chef, you might recognize, Gregory Gourdet. We have people in hospitality and tourism, somebody from our local Portland General Electric. I'm talking about how she has to procure different pieces of equipment from around the globe. So it's, even though she's working very locally, she has a lot of global aspects to her job. So we have lots of different resources like that as well. And then I'm just going to share my PowerPoint one more time. The other thing that we've been creating are interactive online professional development modules. So these are designed to help educators understand what global competence is, and then how you integrate it into what you're already teaching using high quality project-based learning. And so the modules really walk you through, why this is important, but then how do you create your own globally focused project that you can then use in your classroom. We have some that are kind of general, and then some that are specific to STEM. So I'm just going to quickly show you the outline of the overview of the STEM modules, so you get an idea of the content. And these are all available for free, and they're all about 15-minute modules.
Want to engage your students while creating a better and more sustainable future for everyone? In the Career Readiness in a Global Economy, STEM and CTE Professional Development Program, you'll learn to teach STEM concepts through global content, utilizing active project-based learning. The program consists of 10 self-paced 15 to 20-minute modules. In the first module, you'll learn why students need the skills to connect, compete, and collaborate in a global economy. The second and third modules introduce you to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and the framework to design a high-quality global project. Module 4 discusses how to assess these projects, while modules 5 and 6 provide the knowledge to hone your students' project management skills. The remaining 4 modules are independent of one another, but provide practical steps to teach students to respect diversity, help you to connect and collaborate with classrooms in other countries, and assist you in integrating global perspectives into CTSO competitions, and help level up your CTE classroom by making natural connections between academic and technical content. Are you ready to create a brighter future? Sign up for free at asiasociety.org/CTE Toolkit.
So even though those are designed for STEM and CTE educators, you can see that a lot of that content could apply for other educators as well. So if you're interested in doing some of those projects with schools in other countries, you could take the module specific to that. And then just last but not least is we're creating currently some new modules for post-secondary faculty, for community college faculty. And so these we're actually going to start piloting next week. Again, it's similar. We'll be helping faculty understand why these skills are important, and then how to internationalize their syllabi. And we're also creating 4 new student modules. And these are focused on high school and post-secondary students. So these could also be useful. These are also being piloted starting next week. So they really help students understand why these skills are important, and then how they're important for jobs as well as citizenship, and then help them create their own plan for becoming globally competent. And we're creating some new tools that go along with this. So we have a new global social justice education framework that you can find online in that post-secondary toolkit, as well as some other ones like this, the GREAT tool that I showed you earlier. If you're interested in participating in the pilot, the link is here on the screen, and I can pop this into the chat box too. So if you're in a community college faculty, or you have students who might be interested in reviewing the modules, we're looking for people to start participating in that pilot next week. And I will stop there. I don't know if we have any additional questions. Go ahead.
Oh, and we have a couple more minutes. I think we do, right? Yeah. I'd love to share just a few more things as well. It's like the race to share resources. We have so much stuff. One thing that I didn't share, and let me do that now, is I think I shared a couple of units that we have around global competence, addressing racism, but we also have a section just around global learning, which Heather talked a lot about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we have a few more here, again, just easy ways to get started, and these can be done virtually as well. We didn't get too much into our SAGE framework, but you are welcome to check out this website. You get a little bit more, but it's really just a framework designed to kind of make sure that you're looking through a filter when you're designing a curriculum. That ensures that students have choice, that these experiences are authentic, that your unit is globally significant, and that they have opportunities to exhibit to a real audience. And here are some examples of what we have. So decoding information bias, exploring a free and fair press, designing a debate podcast, which students might be interested in doing, as I talked earlier about the infographic design, putting together a digital story here around poverty and hunger, oral history projects, understanding the migrant and refugee experience, digital resource curation, investigating oceans of plastic. And then Heather showed this a little bit to you, a bunch of projects organized by UN Sustainable Development Goals. So again, really great resources that we think you can use and kind of off the shelf stuff. If you don't have a lot of time or you just want to kind of start slow, I think this is one way in which you can do that. And I think that's what we have for you today. So I don't know if there are more questions in the chat.
There aren't, but we are happy to stay on and answer any questions that come up like through the chat. But otherwise we can throw it back over to Margaret, I think. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much, Neelam and Heather, for sharing all those wonderful resources. We really appreciate that, and you joining us from Asia Society internally as well.